Today I want to talk about a very controversial topic that might most probably get me the hate of the aspiring product management community. I thought it was actually worth it to discuss it. It's the question, should a fresher go into product management? Regardless of what my personal opinion, regardless of what anyone's opinion in the world is, you should consider those as opinions. Only you as an individual can decide what is best for you. No one else can tell you what is the best path forward for you.
Don't ever let somebody tell you you can't do something. Not even me.
Whenever you make a decision, you're gonna have to live with those decisions for the rest of your life. Would you rather have made a decision based on something that you believed in or something that someone else told you? I think it should be the first case, right? It's always better to have done something, even making mistakes that you have decided to make on your own. And when it comes to which career you should take, you should only listen to your own opinion, to what it is that you want to do. You can do a little bit of research so that you can form your own opinion, because it's your life. Only you can live your life. Having said this, we can start going into the topic.
Shall we?
In an ideal world as a product manager, you would only be thinking about the user, about the business needs, about the design, about ideas that you have that you could think and experiment with.
It's not my dream job.
But reality is a little bit different. Whenever you decide what it is that you want to work on, whatever it is that you want to do, you're going to need to do stakeholder management. Stakeholder management is one of the most underappreciated parts of the job that most people ignore.
Really?
They think, oh, I just need to communicate and let people know. Stakeholder management is one of the key ways to getting your promotion.
What?
Your job is not only measured by what your boss says, it's also measured by what everyone else is thinking about your work. The tricky part of stakeholder management is that you need to have the buy-in of people who don't necessarily care about your goals. They care about their specific department. They care about what is helping them to make their goals possible.
Show us selfish.
You're going to have multiple types of people who have very specific interests. And the thing about these people is that you never know where they come from. You don't know how emotionally intelligent they are. You don't know how good they are at their job. You don't know how much they know about the task.
There's still a lot you don't know.
People expect you, the product manager, to understand them. And this is the most common scenario. They think that it is your job to let them know what needs to happen, to tell them if something is not possible, to slow them down if something is irrational.
That's a lot to take in.
And many people have grown to think, maybe because of the way that society has conditioned us, that when you pressure someone, someone's going to do more.
I can work harder.
Putting pressure that takes you to the edge and releases so much cortisol, so much adrenaline that it puts you in a position of starting to only deliver, doing and delivering.
Ready to deliver.
And the thing is, do you want to have people who start putting pressure on you to start dictating where your focus should go into? How do you know who's right? If you were to know who has the absolute truth of what area of product you should be working on, because that's going to get you the main result that the company is chasing after, most probably you wouldn't be a product manager. You'd probably be a god of some sort.
You God?
But you're not. No product manager knows everything. We rely on experience. We rely on numbers. And empirical knowledge requires experience, requires having done something beforehand. And if you don't have any experience before becoming a product manager, it is very hard for you to know whether something is going to work or not.
It won't work.
Yes, we all have intuition. If science taught us something, is that our intuition can lead us in the wrong direction very often.
Well, I hope your intuition is right.
If you don't know what moves the needle, if you don't know what works, how are you going to make decisions? It's going to be trial and error. And you know what happens with trial and error. Trial goes well and your stakeholders are happy. It's great. Everyone claps with joy and happiness. But if things don't go well, people are going to start becoming frustrated. They are going to accumulate resentment. And they're going to tell you, why are you doing this instead of listening to me?
Why are you so stupid?
They're going to think that there is a mental blocking here that is not allowing you to see what's the right path forward. A way to combat this is to look into the numbers.
The future of the free world rests on all those numbers.
It is very hard to make a business decision when you don't understand the business.
I don't get it.
When you're checking the numbers, you need to go with a hypothesis that you want to validate or reject. But it is very difficult to do that when you don't have a hypothesis to form because you don't have any business knowledge to determine whether you're going in the right direction or not.
Why are we doing this again?
You are required to have a business sense, understanding what goes on behind the curtains.
Open the curtains.
Most of the situation where someone knows how to troubleshoot a lot of stuff is because they've gone into the weeds many times before. We are not born knowing how to solve problems, how to frame a problem to start working on it, how to use boundary conditions that will frame this problem. But when it comes to business, it is talking to business people, it is experiencing the business, it is doing different things within a business.
It's just business.
It can be extremely challenging to make a decision when you don't know what is the decision that you could make. It is very difficult to contradict someone's opinion when you start questioning yourself, when you don't know whether it's your lack of experience or your lack of understanding of a specific topic.
Don't worry, Alfalfa. I used to have the same problem.
Ambiguous expectations. Every company interprets something different of a product manager. Some people think you need to tell them how to run their business.
Who are you?
A friend.
Other companies think you're just a product manager where you're basically going to do whatever they ask you to do.
Project manager.
In other occasions, you're gonna have all the freedom in the world, but some companies are gonna expect you to have workshops or sessions with people to do one thing or another. All of these expectations change per company. It is very difficult to reinforce boundaries when you don't know what those boundaries could look like.
Can I do that?
You're gonna work with a lot of people who have very high demands, very high expectations of what you should be delivering. And you need to feel firm. You need to feel like you're on solid ground, like no one can move you from where you are. And that doesn't happen because of you being inflexible or you being stubborn. It happens because you know what is the right path forward. You've trusted your skills before and you know that they work. And this brings you a sense of competency, sense of confidence that people cannot shake from you.
Can't shake you. Can I?
But you don't get that if you haven't worked before. When people start pressuring you, pulling you in all different directions, it is very difficult to enforce those boundaries to say, hey, this is what we are doing, because you don't know what you're doing.
Don't I?
You need to ensure very clear communication with your stakeholders, with your engineering team, with your boss. There's a part of the role that people seem to miss, which is you don't only manage a team, you're also managing up. You're managing whoever is responsible for you. When you're trying to figure out your own job, what it is that you're doing, what it is that the engineer should be working on, you're in survivor mode. You're just trying to figure things out. And it becomes extremely difficult to think about the fact that you should communicate, that you should tell your boss what you're doing. What is it that you should say to people? What is it that you shouldn't say? Whether you should commit to something. People are going to try to trap you into commitments that you shouldn't be doing. I wish I could tell you that everyone's really kind and that everyone's going to want what's best for you in the company. But there are people who are just pushing their personal agendas. And they are not going to care about whether what they're asking from you is reasonable or not. They're going to try to trick you into saying yes to things, into committing to things, and they're not going to care about the fact that that's going to do something bad for you in the long term. That is not the norm, but it is always a possibility. It's very difficult to manage tricky situations when you don't have any experience.
Okay. Just stay calm.
Starting out in a job of any kind is already a journey in itself. Your first experiences should be about learning, experiencing frameworks that help you to do things in the best way possible. And it is extremely difficult to do that when there is so much pressure on you, when you have the interests of a whole company in your hands, when you are responsible for such a large budget in terms of FTEs. You're not officially their boss, but you're responsible for their work that they are putting on during their full-time journey.
So it's an immense responsibility.
I bet it is.
One of the most important problems is that it's going to be very difficult for you to say no. People are going to put pressure. People are going to perform some tricks on you. People are sometimes blinded by the situation, by their own levels of stress, by the environment that they cannot seem to deal with, by all of the problems that they are facing that they don't know how to resolve. And ideally, people would be thinking about the fact that you're new, and that you need to learn and that there is a process.
So in my ideal world, we could free climb the route in its entirety.
We don't live in an ideal world, and you need to learn how to navigate those situations. And you need to be able to say no to people so that you can do the right thing. You might go into a journey where everyone's kind and everyone cares about you doing the best work possible. That is also a possibility, but it's not going to happen every time.
Let me give you a reality check.
Am I going to be able to say no when I don't know what it is that I'm saying no to? There's a high chance that you'll have poor communication with stakeholders. I'm not going to talk about what it is that you need to do because I have a full video about that. You can watch it afterwards. But if your communication with your stakeholders is not good, it's possible that you'll take into consideration requirements that didn't match the need of the stakeholders. It is very difficult to take into account all of these things that you need to do when you don't know how business runs, what a company is doing, what are the different items that you should be working on. You're most probably going to end up in a situation where you cannot reinforce boundaries.
No boundaries.
Since you don't know what is the norm, you're not going to know what you can allow or not. And that could bring you into a dynamic where you end up getting poor results. Once it starts, it's very difficult to stop it if you don't have the experience and the skills to do that.
I can't stop it!
Another problem that a fresher PM could face is that the technical understanding is missing. If you don't come from a technical background, you don't know what's possible and what's not. You haven't talked to engineers before. You don't know what they could do. And that's going to create very empty conversations where no message is exchanged because you're speaking different languages. And acquiring this technical understanding is a thing that you get either through hands-on experience or by working with an engineering team. If you don't have any experience, how are you going to have that understanding?
No way.
If you're a fresher, you're going to have an over-reliance on intuition rather than data. You're not necessarily going to make the best decision. You're just going to follow the habit or the path that you've known from the past.
What's he doing?
As a fresher PM, you could struggle to drive alignment. It is very difficult to even convince one person of something. There's a whole skill behind it. If it's already difficult to convince one person, imagine convincing many different people. You need to convince an engineering team that what you want to do is the right thing for the company.
Persuade me.
And how are you going to know that when you don't understand the business? And when you don't understand what doing this can deliver? If there is no empirical knowledge, it's going to be very hard to leverage why you should do one thing or not.
Shall we do this?
As a fresher product manager, you're going to struggle with empathy. If you're Gen Z, you're most probably going to think, look, I have more empathy than any boomer out there or that you millennials who think you have it all under control. I'm not saying you're not an empathetic human being. What I'm saying is that you're going to struggle with empathy. The reason why I'm saying this is because when you have so much pressure on you, when you have so many people relying on your work, on you making the right decisions, on you making the right call, it becomes very difficult to think about someone other than yourself.
I suppose it was just myself.
It becomes really challenging to think about the user or your stakeholders. You're just trying to prove yourself. You're trying to show the world that you can do a good job. You're going to struggle to know when is the right time to communicate this. When should I tell this to a stakeholder? You don't have the mental energy to be able to dedicate to this specific task.
And I have none now.
You need to have a buffer of time. You need to have room for learning. You need to have this runway that airplanes need to be able to take off. Otherwise, you're just going to be juggling and you're going to become a project manager rather than a product manager.
That's not good.
As a fresher product manager, you're most probably not going to have management skills. This means managing down and managing up. It is a learning process for everyone out there, but managing skills are something crucial for any product manager. It is not something that you develop in a couple of months.
Dina, wake up and make Greg a cappuccino!
In an ideal world, when you do something well, you'd expect to have all of this recognition, this validation. And when you're working in such high-pressured environments, most probably none of this will ever happen. People are so absorbed by their own life, their own problems, that they cannot be thinking about what it is that you did. Just like you don't have the management skills, other people might also not have the management skills. Some people might forget to say thank you. Some people might forget to tell you how valuable the feature that you made is. Some people might forget to appreciate the work that you put in things.
No, thank you.
It is a role where you're taking a lot of stress and there's not a lot that you are getting back from it. When you see results, depending on the company, some people might celebrate it, but on other occasions, some people might just say, this is what you should do, this is your job. I've had situations that were super challenging for me, where I was in environments that were very, very stressful, and I wasn't getting any particular reward. The reward were sometimes small moments of connection, having a random conversation about filters, having a conversation where you could feel understood. Those were the moments of reward.
And that's enough for me.
There will be some people who with very little words will be able to get you, but that is not the rule, that is the exception. Most people are going to require for you to tell them a whole long story of things to be able to be empathetic about your situation, about what you're going through, about what you're building, about what you're trying to do. And you're going to have to deal with that on a recurring basis. And your job is not going to be special for the things that you think they are. It's not going to be about this big recognition. It's not going to be about these great things that you did, because sometimes you're going to work on features that are just plain boring, but that are necessary for a company to keep operating in business, or that are necessary to avoid a lawsuit. And you need to motivate a whole team of people to be excited to work on those.
You may not look like a winning team, but you are one. So, play like one tonight.
How are you going to make those people excited when you're not excited yourself? When you don't find the reason to want to work on those features? It can become very complicated. It is also possible that you're going to have a manager who doesn't come from a product background. And when that person doesn't come from a product background, they're not going to be able to teach you about the craft. They're not going to be able to show you how to best manage something. So can you do the job? If you decide to go that path, find yourself someone who can help you. Find yourself a mentor who can understand the questions that you have, who can put themselves in your position. You find your allies within a company who can teach you those skills. Now, when you ask people to invest their time in you, make a good use of that time. Putting your time into someone else's career, into someone else's life, is one of the strongest investments someone's deciding to do in you. Because either they believe in you, they see something in you, or they just want to see you succeed.
I should invest in my future.
When someone does that, cherish it. I'm not telling you this to push your idea down. I'm not telling you this so that you're demotivated. I'm just telling you this because I don't want you to be disappointed when you get into a role and you find all of these problems. I just want you to know that they're going to happen so that you learn the skills to be able to navigate those situations. If I could give you a personal recommendation, it would be to first gain experience or build discipline in an area where you gain hands-on experience. Do something where you see there is a change in whatever you're doing. Work with numbers. Try to figure out what is helping a particular topic. Try to understand how your specific department is affecting that user journey. Get really skilled at it, build confidence, and then jump into product management from that particular area. If you really want to get into product, just develop that industry knowledge and the hard and the soft skills so that you're able to get into it. If you really want to become a product manager despite all of these things that I've told you, it is important that you learn about the business that you're getting into, learn about the industry, learn about psychology, learning about what drives our decisions, learning things like there's no tomorrow, being curious. If you want to do it, you know nothing's going to stop you. I'm not going to stop you. Your neighbor is not going to stop you. If you really want to do something, don't look for consensus. Just do it. Just go for it. And you're always going to find people who are there to support you. You're going to find the allies that you need to make that thing happen. So if you really want to get into product, I know you're going to be able to do it because nothing is more powerful than a determined person. Like if you're already on that path, just prepare yourself to be good.
Get ready.
I hope you enjoyed the content. If there's something you'd like to share or questions that you have, just write a comment. Thanks a lot and have a nice day.